Welcome to another episode of the Executive Exclusive. I'm your County Executive, Julie Giordano, and with me, back from vacation, even though we had a great time with Earl Campbell, and he got almost 1,000 views, Bunky, on that episode, but Bunky Luffman is back with us, our Director of Administration. So thank you for coming back from Seattle and continuing all the good work you do here in the county.
Well, it's great to be back. I, traversed over 3,000 miles, a suspension bridge, hiked some trails, was in Mount St. Helens, all to come back here.
Yeah, I feel like I did all of that and tackled those very tasks just in a different way, metaphorically speaking, I guess, while you were gone. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the council meeting. Now, I do want to preface by saying that Bunk was not at the council meeting because it was during his vacation. He kind of knows what was going on, and I think he'll be able to keep the conversation flowing. But the first thing, obviously, is Resolution 20-2024, which is the resolution that is going to potentially be, or not potentially, it will be put on the ballot to remove the executive form of government and then shift over to the councilmanic form of government. And the one thing that I want to say is there was a lot of wording in that resolution that I think I was a little concerned with because of the way that it was stated, using words like, or phrases like enhancing government and things like that. And when I spoke to our county attorney, he seemed very confident that it's going to be a very straightforward language, because the last thing that we want is people voting on something that they're not sure what they're voting on or what exactly this means. So I haven't really asked you, how are you? I mean, this is going to ultimately, affect you too, not just, my position, but it's kind of our position. So I just wanted to know where you are on that.
Well, I would say, my degree's in marketing, as from that perspective, to me, if you have to oversell something, then that's sort of indicative of a lack of confidence, I think, in the initiative. Because they should be comfortable, with just saying, this is what it is. And if you were comfortable that people were just going to inherently vote for it or against it or whichever way you wanted, you don't have to put in sort of marketing language or enhanced. You don't have to do that. You just say what it is. I was one of the people who was really for the elected school board in our county. And I don't remember that ballot initiative having any sort of language like that. I mean, it was a three-person. You could keep it as it was, which was gubernatorial appointment. You could do a hybrid, or you could do elected. And and then that was the choices. And over 50% of our county picked, elected. So, and that was without any sort of bells and whistles. So I take that as a tell. Like, I really feel like if it were me, and I was on the council and I wanted to advance this, even though they have the inherent ability with 5 votes to put it on the ballot, I would have still gathered signatures, because then you have a bank of voters.
Right.
I sort of feel like they're at a disadvantage, the people who want this, because they have no idea if they have support or not. And I don't believe they do. Like I've said before, my family's been around since 1665. Most of the people I'm related to don't have the last name Luffman. Mm-hmm. So I talk to people with several different last names that, I'm related to, and I hear back from them from all over the county, every part of the county, and there really is no groundswell of support that I can ascertain. And we're from the Eastern Shore. We're not sort of a culture that would just tell you what you want to hear. We're a very blunt culture.
We're very honest. Yeah,
so my relatives aren't going to say that to spare my feelings, because that's not how my family works.
Right. They're like, the heck with your feelings. Like, this is, Well, I think that that's good, though. You know what I mean? That they are honest with you. And I've kind of done the same thing and just talked to different groups. And we're talking business owners, restaurant owners, the realtors, and, people just in different categories, farmers, watermen. And no one seems to really be 100% sold on this idea. And it does seem, you're talking about gathering signatures. Typically, to put something on the ballot, you need anywhere between 10,000 to 15,000 signatures. I feel like they have a core group of 5 people, maybe less, that are sort of heading this initiative up. And so, we obviously, if anybody wants to know, we are honestly waiting for that exact language to come out, and then we can go ahead and figure out how we're going to go ahead and campaign against this or tackle this. So we are moving forward. I don't want anybody to think that we're just sort of sitting on this, but we do have to see what that language is going to say. And if you are against changing the form of government, disrupting the balance of power, to not have checks and balances, you obviously are going to be voting against this ballot initiative. No matter what the wording says, it is vote against 100%. So we do know that at least that part, it's not going to be, that you would be voting to keep the county executive in the for. You would be obviously, voting against the council's initiative. So again, if you want to keep the county executive, you are voting against that council charter amendment. And we'll get a little bit more into that once we know what the language is. And I know that Paul Wilbur, our county attorney, is working on that. So.
Well, what's been really heartening is, people know, so I don't want to make it political. I don't want to talk about politics, but at the same time, acknowledge the fact that both of us are Republicans. People know it. We've both been elected. You're elected. But what's been really heartening is it's the people who are against it is bipartisan. Like, there have been people who have told me and told you, I didn't vote for you, however, I'm against getting rid of. And obviously you don't want to hear from a voter, I did not vote for you, I probably won't vote for you in the future. But in this instance, it's really heartening that they're willing to, look, I'm either going to vote for someone in my party or I will want to vote for someone else. But I feel like the executive office has inherent check and balance, which is a good thing for the citizens. So that's actually good to hear. Under other contexts, maybe it wouldn't be. It's really good to hear that perspective.
No, and I totally agree. And just hearing I may not vote for you, but I'm going to vote for somebody else, but I want the ability to vote. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's the biggest push, is that when you switch back over or potentially go back over to the councilmanic form of government, you are silencing the people's vote in the leader of the county. Yes, you are voting for the council, but they ultimately then are hiring a county administrator. And they sort of oversight everything that council person is doing. And I feel if you look at that charter that they have proposed, I mean, it is very clear that council administrator will fall in line right underneath, that council, that there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And people don't want that. They don't want that type of person running the county. They want to have their voice heard with having an elected official, no matter if it's me or whoever. So you are right. I think that is good to hear, people saying it's important. Our vote matters. And to take that away is I don't think is a very popular an idea at this point in time. So anyway, well, moving on from that, and like I said, the council continuously gives me content to continue on the show. So obviously we will keep this going on all the way through the election season in November, and we'll keep you posted on that as it progresses. Moving on, we also did our bond bill for Fruitland primary, so that came up. We started that process. It was just the introduction of the bill. So when we go to bond, it is a legislative bill. So it's crazy that we're going to be going in the fall, maybe potentially the spring, but most likely the fall. And we have to start that process now, but that's how long it takes a legislative bill. So do you want to walk people through our bond process, like exactly how that works and why it takes so long and why we have to start it so soon?
Yeah, so it's a legislative bill, like you said, and we have a consultant that we work with, and they help. We have to go in front of rating agencies. So, we'll be in front of Moody's and it's not Fitch, is it? We'll be in front of a couple rating agencies, Moody's being one of them. And then we will meet with them. This is all set up by our consultant, who will also be in the room. We'll have a presentation to give them. And they will ask us questions about our presentation, about the financial health of the county, and then several weeks later we'll figure out sort of what our grade is. And we've been AA plus with a positive outlook. That's our current rating right now, which is probably as high as we can get unless either the revenue cap were to go away, which it's not, obviously. The taxpayers put it in, the voters put it in, it's staying, or we became a higher wealth county, because there are counties that have a revenue cap with a AAA bond rating, but they're much wealthier counties than we are. So we would need to improve, our wealth probably to get the next notch up.
Yeah, and I think I want to make it quite clear too, with having a county executive for 18 years, each county executive, it didn't matter if it was Rick Pollitt, Bob Culver, John Pissota, or myself, we have worked very hard to get the bond rating where it is, or at least keep it where it is. For us, we tried really hard to go up thinking that we were close to it, and it does. And as Bunky said, the wealth has to improve, the revenue cap, whether it goes away or changes, that would be a different scenario for our bond rating, but we still have a good bond rating. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure what that's going to look like in the fall with the uncertainty of what's going to happen in November. And we tried to talk about this, that as we go to New York, stability is a huge part of this. And when your government itself is up in the air as to what type of government it's going to be, that may cause a little bit of instability or a little bit of question as to what's going to happen. And so we are really hoping for no changes in the bond, but each county executive has worked really hard to get the bond rating where it is and making good financial sound decisions to keep us, where we need to be for those good bond ratings, so we're not, spending a whole bunch in interest and things like that. So we'll see. So Fruitland primary is moving forward. If everything goes according to plan with the bond in the fall, then they will break ground in January or February. So that'll be really exciting for them out there. So, yeah. So moving forward with that.
Well, I'm on the school building commission, and they're, of course, really excited about it. And our last meeting, we sort of went through some things, and they always have a build out, and then they always have additional sort of options that the school building commission can weigh to see, hey, if there's some leftover money, could we do this? Could we do this? So there's beginning to be more and more excitement about it.
Yeah, definitely. So that was like some of the two biggest things I think on the council meeting that you ended up not being able to attend. And then we had a special session. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So the first thing that was done in the special session was the outdoor burn ban. So this was kind of crazy. This was my first, I think, executive order in 18 months. We had to put that forward. All of you know we have not had enough rain at all. And it's summertime, it's dangerous. So we ended up putting the burn ban out. I can only do an executive order for 7 days per the charter. And then after that, the county council sort of reviews it and they can continue it. They can sort of hand over the decision making fully to the executive, which is what the council decided to do. So they're kind of leaving it up to us, but more so emergency services to make that call. We did have a little bit of rain. We'll probably be meeting with Lorenzo or Chris, our team for emergency services. Is that ban going to be lifted anytime soon? I know some people were talking about campfires and things like that. Those are not part of the burn ban as long as they're contained. We're talking, the big burning, that's happening sometimes on farmland and people have those big, huge bonfires, that kind of stuff. Isn't going to be able to be done for safety purposes. So did you want to talk any more? You probably had to deal with burn ban, I would think, at DNR. So. Yeah,
well, and it does not jeopardize any of the 4th of July fireworks.
Yes, you can still have fireworks. So I know there were some questions about that.
However, you should not have, there are a lot of fireworks that happen in Maryland that aren't exactly legal. Those shouldn't happen anyway, but you also, because of the burn ban, there's some restrictions on that kind of stuff because things are incredibly dry. The fireworks, they have the fire companies there, and they prep the site. They know where it's going to land. There is a lot that goes into that. They don't just show up and shoot it off. Right. So that's why that's safe, is because they take a lot of precautions anyway.
Yeah. So our suggestion would be go see fireworks. Don't go set off fireworks. So that's our PSA for the day. So, and then so we will keep you posted on the outdoor burn ban. You'll hear it, hopefully uplifted here soon. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of rain. We were still like 2 inches down from where we needed to be. So still need to get some moisture in our ground, before it's safe to do so. So we will keep you posted. And then we had the tipping fee fiasco, is what I call it. So, with the tipping fees, so if you are not aware, we, in our budget, which was presented to the county council in April, upped our tipping fees to $100 a ton. Now, while I understand that seems like a huge jump, and it is, do not get me wrong, we had not raised fees in years and years and years, and that's our fault. That was a couple dollars here, a couple dollars here. It would have been better off being phased in. But we presented this, And, the council is able to make cuts. And we kind of talked about this, and not that this is an excuse. We sort of assumed that they would probably chip away at that a little bit, and we probably would have ended up around $84, $85, something like that. But they didn't. And we also had an open work session. So we had our Deputy Director of Public Works there and kind of worked through this, so it was out in the open. And then the big meeting at the Civic Center is when they passed the resolution for those tipping fees. And no one came out and spoke. Now, what that shows us, though, is that not everybody pays attention to the council sessions and things like that. And then when it got posted, right before July 1st, it was, or no, I guess whenever it was after July 14th, or sorry, I can't even speak. June 14th, yes, is when it got posted, because June 15th is when that finalized budget pretty much is done. And then the floodgates opened. We got a lot of messaging, a lot of things on Facebook, companies reaching out, municipalities reaching out. Long story short, we were able to remedy the situation within 4 or 5 days. And so if you want to talk a little bit about that process that the council sort of went through with that and what the new tipping fees are, if you want to talk.
So eventually, because there were a couple different things they did, but eventually it stayed the same for the next 6 months, and then which is $67 ton, and then it goes up to $78 January 1st. Now here's the issue that we still have. At $78 a ton, we estimate the landfill is going to lose about $500,000. We are still underfunding it, and the landfill is an enterprise fund, which means our property tax dollars aren't paying for the landfill. The landfill runs on its own fees and things, and it's having it can keep up with operating expenses, salaries, those typical things. Where it sort of runs out of money or where it needs to be aided is how expensive it is to upgrade. If we open a new cell, by state law, once we hit a height, we have to start capping. That sort of stuff costs millions of dollars. So as part of our budget every year for landfill, we have to budget that capital expense. Otherwise, we'd get hit with $20 million. It would be almost like building a school. So we should be able to get enough from these fees to put a little aside every year, so that when we need to do a new cell, we don't have to go to bond. We don't have to dip out of, the savings account, which is taxpayer money. We can just have that money set aside, and that was sort of the goal. The goal wasn't just to raise a fee to raise a fee. The goal is that we get above what that break-even point is, to where we can sock away, and it's going to have to be some millions of dollars. Break-even point is probably around $84, $85. So eventually, we need to be at least a little above the 84 or 85 a ton in order to make the landfill more sustainable. And we, as a county, don't have trash pickup as a county entity. Now, county residents outside of municipalities obviously can contract with any of a number of companies. So we don't collect it, though we do receive it. And so that's sort of what we were trying to get at, is we're trying to make the landfill more self-sustaining and keep it as a fee-based service where, folks in Salisbury, Delmar, where I'm at, we have daily collection with. In Delmar, it's contracted out as well. I don't remember the name of the company. It's different than when I was on the council. I can't remember if Salisbury does their own or not, but they either do it internally or they contract it out. So those folks, go through companies. And then if you're a county resident, your two choices are you can contract with a company, or if you have a pickup truck and you can do it, you get a dump sticker and you can, take your trash there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think, I know there was a couple of questions. We weren't in the council meeting at the time. We were taking care of some things over in our office. But I think the question got brought up, well, where did the $78 come from? And it was kind of frustrating to me because we had a whole work session on it. And as a matter of fact, there were a couple of people that even complimented the back and forth communication and us talking it through and trying to figure out, hey, both of us probably fell short, letting people know that this increase was going to happen. But the Deputy Director of Public Works offered the $78, but the $78 was supposed to start in July and then potentially go up to the 84, the break-even point, or maybe even 100 in January. So that's where the 78 came from, that we would be okay. It was never necessarily intended to do the 67 and then go to the 78. But the 78 was supposed to be the starting off point. But it is what it is. We'll do, the 6 months of, at $67, and then the other half of the year we'll at least, be getting, somewhat of an increase. So, but that's where we are with our tipping fees. So again, it will increase. We want everybody to be prepared and be ready for that, but it's not going to increase until January. So we are able to phase that in. And in all honesty, I think that was one of the best representations of how government should work. Constituents reached out, there was an issue, and within 4 days we were able to take care of it. And typically, government works pretty slow, which is one of my issues with it. Sometimes I don't have that patience, but really, we were able to take care of it relatively quickly, so that was good.
And a lot of people don't know this, I have a terrible fear of heights. And so at the time this was going on, I was on this suspension bridge, hundreds of miles, I think, or not miles, hundreds of feet in the air, shaking and, afraid but braving it myself. And I think I was in a more comfortable position than you in the council.
You might have been. You might have been. I might have rather been up on that bridge with you. But it worked out. We were able to work through it. And anyway. And then the second to last thing that I wanted to talk about was the collective bargaining agreement. So this had been going on for quite a bit. And I think the one thing that the council said they were beating it to death was, well, it wasn't turned in on time. We didn't have enough time. And I understand where they're coming from. I do want everyone to understand we started working with the collective bargaining team actually back in November-ish. Because we had a new personnel manual and we wanted to make sure that everything was aligned. And so we had several entities look at this personnel manual. The deputies were one of them to look at to make sure that everything sort of matched. And then after that, that's when we started the negotiation process. And it did take a little bit. We were going back and forth. We were able to, on the front end, save a lot of attorney fees. It ended up probably not at the end, but we were able to save a lot of attorney fees in the beginning because we had such great communication. We have a really good working relationship with our FOP, and we were able to sit down and have those conversations. We came up with a pretty decent draft, and then our lawyers came in and sort of finalized that legal language. Unfortunately, there was a one thing that there was a kind of a debate about, which was the 2.5% COLA in retirement that we are starting with our deputies and hoping to expand that to all of our employees. But we wanted to start with a small, what is that called? Like a small community, a small population of people to see what that was going to look like. And so we found that this was a perfect opportunity. The council wanted a little bit more information. It took a little bit for CBiz, who does our actuaries, to put together a presentation of information. The council was able to, I think, dissect enough from it to understand that this is feasible. And long story short, we ended up being able to pass it. But we were like days away from arbitration. So I signed this, Bunk, I think on June 30th. And it might have been the 29th, but it was really late. And then July 1st, arbitration was ready to go. And I don't know how much you know about arbitration, but it is definitely not a path that we want to go down. And do you want to explain to everybody why we would never want to go the arbitration route?
Well, first of all, it would be almost certainly a one-year contract. We potentially may have had to start back from the beginning. Where now, even though we had locked in and had an agreement on salaries and several other issues that are in here, uniform allowances, different things like that, all that may have been opened back up, or maybe it would have been narrow enough to the cost of living raise. The arbitrator, was not a cheap prospect. Also, in the arbitration, the executive, we have an attorney that's been a part of the CBA process. The council attorney, so you would have had an arbitrator, super expensive. You would have had two attorneys, and then we would have been a part of it, so it would have been our time as well. And I don't know whether it would have lasted 1 day or 10 days. It's a lot of unknown. It's an expensive endeavor. And, I'm glad we were able to avoid it. And it probably would have reduced down to a one-year contract as well. So we would have been right back to negotiating a contract in probably
just a couple
September.
months. Yeah.
So I'm glad this is a 2-year contract, so we
Yes.
don't have that to do.
Yeah,
For
and
a
it's
little
not because
while.
we don't love our deputies, we do, but we have a lot on our plate right now, especially with this ballot initiative, and so it is good that this is a 2-year deal. And I feel very confident. Were the salaries where we wanted them to be? Absolutely not. You know as well as I do, we are the biggest supporters of law enforcement. I wish I could pay them all $1 million. They're putting on a bulletproof vest and protecting me, protecting you, protecting our families in the community. And they do the things that I would never want to do. There's no way I could do their job. So we appreciate every single one of you. I'm just happy that we don't have to worry about it. And I'm thankful for that. What was so interesting is that the executive administration is one signature on the CBA, and we were in agreement with it. The FOP was a signature line. The sheriff is a signature line. Everybody is in agreement. But the council was sort of holding some things up because of claiming that they didn't have enough data. I'll be honest with you, I think they had plenty of data. And they keep talking about timing and things like that. When you hear somebody say, well, we only had 1 to 2 council meetings to really discuss this. Well, that's a month. You know what I mean? And I think people sometimes forget it. Yeah, does 1 to 2 meetings sound like a lot of time? No. But in a time frame, that's a whole month. So we're talking May 21st. It didn't get signed till June 30th or June 29th. And so I think our timelines are just a little bit different. So I don't know how much time, but we will know for next time, because it will happen in 2 years, that we do need to start those negotiations a whole lot sooner, and hopefully to have it in front of council, I would hope between February and March, honestly, to really adhere to the timeline and making sure that everybody feels that they have enough time. It is what it is. It was a learning experience. We thought we were doing a good thing, keeping the attorneys out, trying to save money. It ended up being extended on the long end, so we ended up probably not saving. It probably cost us more than what I really intended, but it is what it is. It's done, and we're happy, and we're really hoping that that new CBA is going to attract new deputies, but also keep our deputies, for them hanging around a little bit, because they've been some of them have been in the game a long time, and I think that institutional knowledge is paramount when you're training new people, because I feel like that is definitely a job that only comes with experience. There's not anything you can read in a book to really prepare you for that. So. And then the last thing was our big day yesterday. We had a huge day yesterday. We are in the first day of our new fiscal year, and I'm going to tell you, July 1st was busy. We celebrated Christine Travers' 25 years at our liquor board, so congrats to her, and thank you for everything that you've done for our community and serving. And then we met with the head of the I want to get their name right. It's the Wicomico County Firemen's Association, and the head of that organization is Holly Ortel. She's the elected president. We were able to meet with her yesterday, and we were able to present her with a $10,000 amount, 2 different checks, but $10,000, and that is to help with recruitment and retainment. So that was great. And then we did our press conference at 4:30, and thanks to our friends at PAC 14, they had everybody out there, and they were able to film it very quickly, and I'm sure everybody showed up because PAC 14 was there. That's why I think so. But we had a great crowd. Business owners, we had some community members, some elected officials were out there. So we were just really happy to have everybody there. And PAC 14 was able to put it on YouTube very quickly. It's available on YouTube now that you can see it. And it was quick. And the reason it was so quick, I got people questioned, man, you didn't have much to say. And I said, I feel like I said everything I needed to say. And even though it was only a couple minutes, I thought, honestly, it was going to be 1,000 degrees outside, and it wasn't. But our new liquor laws are in effect. And just to reiterate, for people like you and I, nothing is changing. You are buying your alcohol from our dispensaries. You're continuing that. The money still comes over to the county, all is well. But our business owners are able to, and our restaurant owners are able to purchase their spirits from their distributor of choice. And I'm going to let Bunky comment on this, but I want to read you a text that I got from one of the distributors today, and it just kind of goes to show you how important this bill was. We have stressed it gives them choice, free market, and that kind of stuff, and that is the case. But you guys don't really understand how big this is for our county. So you want to talk a little bit about this bill and how important it was, and the process that we went through.
So my predecessor as Director of Administration, Wayne Strasburg, said he wrote a white paper on this in 2008. And this was one of his recommendations, is that we would go to a model where restaurants and bars could buy outside, could use the dispensary or choose to do the free market. And it has been a long, drawn-out battle, and we were able to get it passed this year. Last year we tried to do it; it didn't get through council. This year it finally passed. So, it was really great. We went to Annapolis. There were some amendments on the bills that at the last minute, which could have potentially killed the bill. So we were able to overcome that, and Delegate Anderton did a great job, shepherding the bill through. So
yeah, he did, and I have to give him such credit, because it wasn't just him going around getting signatures and talking to our Eastern Shore delegation. It was setting the stage and setting the foundation for, talking to the speaker, talking to these people. And I don't think people understand how important that relationship is. And I'm going to go ahead and read you the text message. This was from one of our distributors. And he said, day one, we had 12 accounts order for the first time yesterday and will receive their delivery today. Thank you again. And I said, that is fantastic. And he said, commerce will come because of this. It was a big long-term win. On premise, we will save 25% to 36% from the start. It makes our county more enticing to investors from markets like New York, and now Worcester is seeing a lot of those outside investors coming in over the last 20 months, and that can be us. Yeah. It makes us enticing. And there were several people that told me that, for example, I think it was Alex Scott, who owns the Brick Room, said TGI Fridays was looking to come here. And I love TGI Fridays. That would have been great. But they couldn't, because our dispensary system does not fit their model. And so now that we have opened that up, there'll be more opportunities for restaurants and just different people coming in. And that's what we're about. We're about, development, but in, the smart growth areas, where it makes sense. And we want our county enticing and business friendly. And this was just a huge step. And so I'm super proud of us.
Absolutely.
It was hard work. It was, but we got there, and the roadblocks and different things that happened, the hurdles that we had to jump, and it was funny. I remember we were in the office, and something happened, and you were like, nothing can be easy. Why can't it just be easy? And you're so right. You're so right. We, there are things that have been accomplished, and so a lot of you just see the accomplished part of it, and that's awesome. The blood, sweat, and tears behind the scenes and the different things that we've had to do in order to make those things happen. And I'm not asking for a pat on the back. I'm just saying, the hard work that has been put into a lot of the decisions that have been made and the accomplishments that have happened, I think is pretty surreal. So I'm really proud of us. I think that we worked hard. So we will, just to kind of futuristically look, so summer is, I always say 4th of July, summer's about halfway over. I always would get upset at 4th of July when I was a teacher, because I'm like, oh no, we're already halfway through it, but we're halfway through. And for us, that means that we're gearing up for our legislative breakfast, and we are going to be having that in September. If there are constituent issues that you all have, bills that you think would benefit the county, or statewide bills that you don't like or that you're hearing coming down, let us know. The entities that we have in the room range from everything from education to law enforcement. Who else was there? Our delegation is all there. Our county council is there. All of those people are in that room, and we're talking about how we're going to move forward in this legislative session. And so we're gearing up for that. There's a couple of bills that we're going to be having, to go back to Annapolis with. So yeah, I think that's everything. Any other updates?
Well, no, I think what was great, sort of, with that Annapolis bill and then Fruitland primary going forward, is it sort of met one of the things I really agree with is communities having freer minds and freer markets. And this met both of those, in a very short period.
I agree. So I felt like this was a very upbeat episode, and I think that we needed that. We are not allowing this ballot initiative to hurt us in any way. We are pushing forward. We are doing the work that the people elected us to do, and we're going to continue to do so. So stay tuned on any updates from that. We will always keep you posted here. And other than that, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the Executive Exclusive. Have a great day. How much time was that? Oh, okay, we cut it down. Right.
I thought you meant punch me. That's like
Give
a right
me a right.
cross.
Yeah, that was a left, but I'll give you a right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thumbnail, please.
Okay.